Hey. So, Rob, tell me about this movie. I'm so excited about it. You have an all-star cast and you're directing. I want to hear all about how it came to be, how you guys chose the cast. I want to spill all the tea, as the kids say these days.
Well, the film's called Pike River, as you know, and it's you say the words Pike River in New Zealand, and every New Zealander will know what you're talking about. I mean, there's only 5 million of us, so it's
Only.
it's a small place, but still, it's Pike River is the name of a mine, a coal mine in the remote west coast of the South Island that exploded 15 years ago and killed 29 workers. But it's more than that. It's really you say the words Pike River, and it's sort of like a national scar or stain, if you like, because while of course it's tragic and terrible that 29 men died, the way that the tragedy was handled, both before the causation stuff and after the response, including a complete lack of justice and accountability for those deaths, sort of made New Zealanders feel like they were living in a foreign land, a land that didn't care about justice, a land that didn't care, actually, despite being very caring, we thought, people didn't care about the little people, the people affected, and did care about big business, insurance payouts, and the powerful. This is very much a story of the powerful holding hands to protect themselves and each other, and versus, well, that would be Goliath, right? Versus David, which two incredible women, Sonia Rockhouse and Anna Osborne, played by Robin Malcolm and Melanie Linsky, two great actors, who take on the fight against literally the most powerful people in New Zealand, people and institutions, the police, the government, big business. They take on it all. And I guess what's remarkable and what made me want to tell their story with two things. One, they achieved something. They achieved a lot, actually. And you'll see that when you see the movie. But two, it was the fact that it was two women. It was their relationship. They kind of empowered each other to fight. And I just and that was the truth of it. We weren't making that up. This is about a relationship, a friendship, where these two women just sort of kind of push through the powerful like bulldozers, and what they achieved was remarkable. But how they achieved it, I think, is a great lesson for us all. So look. It was a story that really inspired me. They were characters that inspired me. Obviously, the story and the characters also inspired, some of the best actors, female actors in New Zealand, and Pike River, the movie, is the result.
I love that. First of all, and like I said, I love the fact that you have so many amazing actors and actresses. I mean, Melanie is fantastic. I've been a huge fan of hers. Actually, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. My favorite role she ever did, up until this one, of course, is when she did a guest episode of Psych. I don't know if you saw it, but she was fantastic in that.
I didn't see it. I've been a fan of Mel. I knew Mel way back, and she used to hang around Wellington, so we were mates, and then she went off to America, and did all this amazing stuff. And I'd watch her performances and sort of think of her, as my old friend Mel, but also as essentially an American actor, because she plays mostly all these a kind of American roles. And then I heard her. Initially, I didn't consider her for Pike River. I mean, partly because she's sort of an indie superstar, really. So it just didn't cross my mind that we'd even get her. And then I heard her give some speech, I think, and I just went, "Whoa, Mel, you're still so Kiwi." You could, that accent, and you'll hear it in my own accent now, I'm sure,
I
is
love it. It's so
just
cute.
It's and she of course doesn't use it when she's acting. So we just reached out and sent her the script, and she was really pleased to hear from me as well. And within days she'd said yes, which was just dream come true.
Nice. And what would you say was the biggest challenge about making this movie? Like you said, it was based on a true, very tragic story. So what would you say was the biggest challenge for you?
I think the challenge in probably any true story drama is the challenge of balancing the complexity of these sorts of stories. They're usually not simple because there's usually cover-ups involved. There certainly was here, and there's a lot of mystery, and it's not always linear. And often it takes place, and certainly in this case, it takes place over a long time period, and you've got to find a way to kind of condense that into 2 hours in a dramatic way, in a way that will hold and grip an audience. So that's probably in a way the biggest challenge. But that's fine. That's what we do, right?
Yeah.
But probably the unique challenge in this that was actually a fun challenge was balancing, for me as a filmmaker, was balancing the respect for and therefore also the needs of the people who the story was about, including Sonia and Anna, but also other families who had lost people, with the needs of your audience, the need that I have as a filmmaker, to a deep need to not bore people, to pull people along, to take them on an emotional roller coaster. And those two things can sometimes be opposites because sometimes you think to get the best movie scene, you might do something that the families are not that happy with, but it's a bit more dramatic. We really tried, and I think mostly succeeded to find that balance. And I know that we succeeded because when we showed because audiences have been responding worldwide, and particularly in New Zealand, it released last year, and it was a really big film here, and people were hugely moved and taken by the story, and surprised by it actually. But also the families, Sonia, Anna, and most of the other families, we had special screenings for them. They came up to me at the end and essentially said, "Yep, that's what it was like." So we found that balance, and I love that as a challenge. It's not hard; it's interesting because it forces you. It forces you to make compromises sometimes dramatically, but it also makes the drama more interesting because you're basing it on the truth, and often it's true that the truth is stranger and more interesting than fiction.
Very true, very true. And that actually piggybacks on my next question. I was going to say, did you contact any of the families involved in this? How did they respond to it? And did you expect the reaction that you got from them?
Yeah, well, I mean, I wouldn't have made the film without contacting the families, without their close involvement. That was part of our kaupapa, which is a sort of a Maori word for how you how you set up, how you set forth on the journey. So yes, I contacted the families. I invited any of the families that wanted to speak to me and the writer Fiona Samuel to reach out, and a great many of them did, and that resulted in long interviews, many cups of tea, a lot of excellent home baking, I have to say. And yeah, and then there's you feel a deep responsibility there, because obviously people are sharing their darkest days, some of their deepest trauma, and they're also sharing kind of their anger and what they did to fight against the powers that were trying to cover up the story and basically make it go away. So and really the contact with the families has been ongoing from there. Sonia and Anna in particular were often on set with us. There were times when, there was one time anyway, where Mel Linsky kind of came up to me and just very quietly, in her very sweet and sort of slightly mousy way, I'd say. I say that very endearingly. She came up and said, "Rob, would you mind if we got Anna just sort of off my eye line a bit? Just because it's really hard playing someone when the person you're playing is watching you playing them." Which of course is self-evident when you think about it. I mean, how weird, right? And of course we gently did that with Anna, and there were no issues. But it meant that the cast themselves were as aware as I was that this was a film about real people, because they were literally there on set with us, standing behind the monitor. Which sort of turned it into, in terms of a shoot. I've been a film director for a long time, and I've done a lot of, a lot of filming. Sometimes comedies even. So it's not always this sort of heavy true life sort of stuff that I do, and a lot of advertising and which is the opposite of this sort of film. But the feeling on set when you've got the real people there, and you're in the actual locations where events happened, somehow that just gives the whole film an authenticity. A lot of people who watch it feel like they're kind of watching a documentary, because it doesn't, and that was part of the aim, like I would hope, a gripping, emotional, very personal documentary, and one that doesn't have anyone doing an interview. You're experiencing it in what feels like real time, but it feels, and this was my intent, and I think we achieved it, sort of deeply truthful to person, place, and event, while also being dramatic and I hope powerful. That's certainly what people are telling me. So it's good. And when we played it back to the families, which of course we did before anyone else saw it, they were pretty stunned, actually. It's hard for me as a filmmaker to imagine, or for any of us really, like, what would that be like to have the worst days in your life immortalized in film, and then to sit in a room with all of these other families and watch them again. We know how film can be very intense. It's a huge screen, it's massive sound, it's all of that, and it literally takes you right back there. The feedback from the families was they were pleased and they were proud, and they wanted their story told. So I couldn't ask for better, and it's but there was no guarantee of that. I could have really stuffed it up.
True, yeah. We're not giving too much away. Which one scene you're most looking forward to everybody seeing, or one moment you're looking forward to everybody seeing?
Wow. Look, I think well, it would be too much of a spoiler alert to say to really say, but I think there's a moment in the film where things turn, and the Sonia and Anna kind of finally start to get traction. They finally start to get what they want, and they realize that it's not just them, but there's a whole country that's behind them. And there's a moment where a significant thing happens, where they manage to stop something that would have happened, stop something bad from happening. I can say what it is. They stop the resealing of the mine, which would have prevented any sort of justice and accountability or any hope of recovery of their men as well. They managed to stop that. And the image that I had in my head when doing those sorts of scenes was the Tiananmen Square image of the one man standing up in front of the tanks. And in this story, metaphorically anyway, it's like it's two women standing up against 30 concrete trucks. They stop the trucks, and they do it through action and through finding their voice. And these things are not easy for two ordinary women who, in the case of Sonia Rockhouse, hates cameras, hates them, or did hate camera. She hated cameras. She hated the media. She she doesn't have any photos in public of her with her son who died because she didn't like to be photographed. All sorts of body image issues. All of this to overcome that and become a voice for her men, and particularly for her son who died, is an incredibly powerful thing. And what's amazing in this story is the only way she was able to do that was the friendship that she had with Anna Osborne, played by Mel Linsky. Two ordinary women who bond together in friendship because they share the same anger, they share the same grief. And the friendship, by the way, has a lot of laughter and love in it. It's a beautiful thing. And then that friendship becomes empowering. And by empowering each other, they're able to change history. What a great story.
Exactly.
And it's true.
It's so true. Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of people that have dealt with tragedies like this, or tragedies in certain areas, could definitely relate to that, because as sad as it is, it's almost good that they have a way to bond and have someone else that understands, you know what I mean? And I think capturing that is such a wonderful thing, because people feel like they're being seen in a way, you know what I mean?
That's right, and it was. I mean, this film is not Thelma and Louise, but there was an aspect of and it's not Erin Brockovich, but it's very similar to Erin Brockovich in some ways, actually,
Yes.
when you think about it. Except it's sort of like a mashup of Erin Brockovich, Thelma and Louise, and I don't know, something else. But in that it's about real people who are working class, real women who are working class, and figure out a way to literally take on the man.
I love that. I love that. And what's next for you now that we're all getting ready to see this amazing movie? What's next for you?
I've got I don't know specifically yet, but I've got a little bunch of, I run in parallel. I've got, TV projects that are sort of bubbling away, and some film stuff as well. I'm sort of looking at New Zealand stories. Of course, I'm a New Zealand filmmaker, but I'm also, I kind of actually pretty keen to kind of branch out from telling just New Zealand stories and do something that's it's a bit more international or even US based. So I got my radar up, in truth. I love these true stories, and I it takes me a long time to find a story that I feel so passionate about that I feel like it just has to be told. I don't do it lightly. It takes a lot out of you. I do other stuff like commercials and TV series and stuff, which feeds the family. So when I do a film, I want it to be something I deeply care about. So I'm figuring out what that is at the moment, in truth.
Nice. One thing I like to ask people I interview is, tell me a fun fact about yourself.
The only thing that comes to mind is that when I was very young, I went to a circus school for a week, but I'm very uncoordinated as a human being, and I knew that I'd never learn to juggle. And because I can't even throw a ball. I'm useless. So I had to do the only other option, which was learn to ride a unicycle.
Oh, cool.
I did. I was younger, so I fell over a bunch, and pretty quickly, picked up a unicycle. Not so keen to ride it now necessarily, but fun fact. Yeah, a unicycle riding director. I don't know what that says about me.
It says there might be a movie in the works about that. I like that idea. And since we're TV side too, what are you watching these days?
It's the same thing everyone else is watching. Kind of really, to be perfectly honest, I have been. I've been watching Stranger Things with my son, which is all I've been watching because he's just wanted to. He's 13 and so it's the perfect age. So I've been enjoying that. I feel like I'm really looking for the next Succession. which was hugely entertaining, but also I love those sorts of stories that really are about how the world operates now. They're deeply entertaining, and and in that case, just full of the most awful people that you'd never really want to meet in real life. I'm talking about the characters, not the actors, obviously. Yeah, and I found Succession was just almost Shakespearean in its quality. It had that kind of Shakespearean or operatic, if you like, kind of quality to it. So yeah, I think my list is probably similar to a lot of people's list, who are who like great movies, and also I'll watch anything that Ben Stiller has directed.
Nice. That's good stuff with him. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Nice. And where can we follow you on social media so we can continue to follow this amazing career of yours?
Well, look, who cares about me? I'd point you towards Stand with Pike, the Facebook page Stand with Pike. I mean, robpsyches.com is where my own personal website is, but honestly, it honestly isn't about me. This film was made to celebrate these two women. So if you Facebook Stand with Pike, you'll be able to follow their story because their fight is ongoing.
I will add a follow. Thank you so much. You're absolutely amazing, and I can't wait to talk again soon.
Thanks, Sammy. That's awesome.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Thank
Bye, Sammy.
you.
Thank you
Bye.
so
Thank
much.
you.